This story begins and ends with listening. As a young person, I spent lots of time in the woods with my family. We would walk through the woods and stop and notice things. The way a bird was singing, the sound of the creek, the sound of wind blowing through the trees. We would try to notice and remind each other of the things we were seeing. I learned this practice from the people that I loved and from people that deeply listened to the earth. As I grew older, I spent more time in the woods by myself, listening to the earth and listening for what it had to tell me. This story takes place at Flathead Lutheran Bible Camp. I was in my early 20s working there as summer staff. And on one particular evening, when the work was done for the day, I went off on my own to a group of tent cabins that were off a ways from the camp. These were just wall tents made out of 2x4s, and each tent cabin has a little platform that extends off the front like a little deck. So I set up my sleeping bag and my sleeping pad at the edge of the deck for the evening, and then I sat and watched. And as I sat and watched, I looked out at the larches and the Douglas firs that were standing tall around me, and the green bushes and flowers and plants growing below. And all of a sudden I saw a streak of wings. And silently an owl came plummeting from the top of one of the trees and landed just a few feet off of the front of the deck. Almost immediately a robin began to make a lot of alarm calls. And I knew that the robin was in distress. And the owl was on top of the robin's nest. After a while, what felt like a long time listening to the robin in distress and the owl doing its thing, the owl took off and flew to a nearby tree. And then it flew to a tree further in the distance. And then as I watched it, it took off from the tree. And it flew towards me. And it flew closer and closer. I knew that if the owl continued on its path, it might even hit me. And right as it got very close to me, maybe only a few feet away, it banked its wings, and we locked eyes. In that moment, I looked, and the owl and I saw each other. And I will forever be changed by my experience of having an owl fly so close to me and the connection to the earth that I felt.